Topic for my final script is lexical correspondence comparison between Cantonese and Mandarin. The motivation and background of this research is that I have a friend that speaks Cantonese, and I noticed that Cantonese and Mandarin had a common writing system, but the pronunciation are totally different at the same word. However, as we know more Cantonese, I realized that there are actually some segmental similarities that we can still somehow notice that we are speaking the same character. So I want to research the segmental difference between Cantonese and Mandarin so that I can know during my learning of Cantonese and during my friend learning Mandarin uh, to reduce the difficulties of cross dialect learning. And I would like to adopt the optimal theory framework to propose constraints that characterize each language. And so the question for this research are, how can optimal theory explain the segmental differences between Cantonese and Mandarin? And what constraint rankings underlies in these differences? And how do they affect speakers of each language? And I like to posit a shared underlying grammar. Maybe it's not Mandarin or it's not Cantonese, it's something in between. And through the constraints, it becomes Mandarin, and through the constraints, it becomes Cantonese. So it's about constraint re-ranking and to generate the Cantonese and Mandarin form from the underlying grammar. And this is the corpus I found. Here are Mandarin, IP of Mandarin, IP of Cantonese, and the meaning of the Chinese character. And since I want to simplify the process and only focus on segmental changes, so I use only single words and didn't contain the tones of Chinese, of Mandarin and Cantonese. And from the corpus, we have some observation. First is Mandarin often drops final consonant, except the nasal codas, while Cantonese have some voiceless upfront coda. And Cantonese usually has a consonant onset. It doesn't allow a character without onset, while Mandarin allows onset as syllable or glides. And Mandarin has retroflex sounds, while Cantonese avoids all retroflex sounds. And there is an interesting observation that in some cases, Mandarin shifts feathers to plateau, such as in this cases, in Mandarin, the words are 曲集金家家界, but in Cantonese, the words are become the onset of these words are instead of ji. For example, in these characters, in Mandarin we pronounce it as ji or ke, while Cantonese they are all pronounced as aspirate or unaspirate ke sound. And here are some observation about vowels, but I didn't really formulate them. That Mandarin prefers high front unbounded vowel, and Cantonese prefers low and back rounded vowels. So the first that we should posit with OT is the coda. And in Mandarin, it doesn't allow upstream coda, which allows only nasal coda. But Cantonese allows upstream coda. So it accepts voiceless upstream coda like p, t, p. And for repairing strategy in Mandarin, we choose maxi over def B so that it drops the coda instead of create a new syllable. And for onset, Mandarin allows onset structure while Cantonese doesn't allow unset structure. So as we can see here, in the gloss E, Mandarin pronounced with only the nucleus, but Cantonese added onset before, even though it's a glide. Next is the retroflex. In Mandarin, it allows a retroflex position, so it allows retroflex onset as 知知知知知, but in Cantonese they don't have retroflex pronunciation, so it will be ranked higher than the no retroflex will be ranked higher than the ident place. And these are the simple examples that the retroflex position was moved to the alveolar or plateau. And then we come to place assimilation, which is what we observe that the k sound sometimes in Mandarin becomes g sound. And I observed that it's because these sounds are not back vowels. And when a Mandarin is before the onset is before back vowels, and the onset is k sound. When it's not back vowel, it becomes the g sound. So like 曲及经. But in Cantonese, all of the coda, Cantonese don't have G sound, but it have only K sound. So there are no voiceless alveolo-plateau affricate Qi before vowels. And for vowels in both language, I didn't really posit constraint to formulate how the vowels differ. But there's a simple observation that in Mandarin, most vowels are E, A, I, A, R, while in Cantonese are more low backgrounded vowels A, Oi, and U, which could be slightly see the distribution from the corpus below. And here are the summarization for constraints. For Mandarin, it's density over onset, and no coda over maxi, ident place over no retroflex, and to assimilate place between consonant and voice over the ident place. And for Cantonese, it's nearly another way around. So onset is over depth and maxi over no coda, no retroflex over ident place, and ident place over a place assimilation for consonant and vowel. And for vowels, Mandarin prefers high front unrounded vowels, and Cantonese prefers low back rounded vowels. Following are the examples for Mandarin and Cantonese that using the OT tableau to find the optimal candidate. Here the constraints are shown as below. Mandarin raise no upstream coda, place assimilation of consonant and vowel high, and the onset and no retroflex low. So by looking at this table, the optimal candidate of cup will be 甲, and of it will be only with the nucleus. And for cha will be the one with retroflex, pronounced with retroflex. And for Cantonese, the optimal candidate will be cup. And since E has to have an onset, the E will become yit. And the retroflex pronunciation is prohibited in Cantonese. So it would be a non-retroflex version. So which to even though it even though it violates the ident place constraint, but it to fix the no retroflex constraint. So this is the summarization of my script. Thank you.